and share first and foremost how much of a pleasure it is to be here with you today. But I'd be remiss if I didn't take a moment to truly thank Norman and the team of organizers and leaders that brought us all together to really be meaningful, engage in meaningful conversations, and really discuss the future of not only Pennsylvania, but the future of the Latino community across the United States. So let's give them a big round of applause. You know, we know that now more than ever, it's important for all of us to join the efforts discussed today in this room. We know now it's more important than ever to organize the Latino community and those in public service to discuss the advantages and opportunities in collaborating to serve our growing community. You know, we know as a kid, growing up, you always heard the PSA that knowing was half the battle. So I figure as I'm up here sharing with everyone, I want to, do two things. One, share some great anecdotes that to kind of tie together, but also to take a moment to share with you some of what we're doing here in Pennsylvania and some of what's happening across the country for a number of reasons. One, to better inform you around what's available and what's happening for you to connect to. Secondly, to give you opportunities to make a connection around what you do each and every day to build upon your experiences. But probably most importantly, to hold public servants like me accountable. Accountable to you, accountable to our kids, and accountable to our communities. So I'm fortunate, I'm extremely lucky to be able to be a leader and aid the education community across the state. Because we know, and we've heard a number of times here today, that education is the proven pathway to ensuring an improved quality of life for generations to come. You can dispute many facts, right? You can use data to create any story. But there is one reality. We know that a better educated community will have a positive trajectory, will continue to improve its quality of life, generation after generation, quite frankly, year after year, month after month, and even day after day. And I think about this as we come together and I look across the room and see so many friends, I think about my own journey through this system of leadership and education and being the first member of my family to attend and graduate from college, to this year being able to celebrate that next generation of family members moving in to a dorm on the first day of school. And it was an amazing lesson learned. First, I was really proud. But then I thought back, when I moved on to college, being the first member of my family, I had 2 duffel bags. And they were old duffel bags. Now, my family member, my niece, she wants a television and a refrigerator and like 15, bags of clothes. And I said, man, these kids these days are getting spoiled. But at the end of the day, it's why we work hard, right? I'm sure she's going to call me again when she has to get half of that stuff back home. But it also really reminded me of how hard our families work to get here and the many obstacles they faced throughout their lives. And I know that together as a leader and in connecting with you, it's our responsibility to really chip away at those obstacles. It's our responsibility to create equity and inclusion and make sure it's at the heart of the foundation of everything we do. It's not just focusing on equity. It's not just thinking about inclusion. It's about consistently looking through the lens of equity and inclusion to ensure that everything we do every day takes into account the needs of our diverse communities. It's ensuring that we take advantage of voices like here today to galvanize, to come together to become strong advocates, but most importantly, to make sure we are the voices of those that have no voice. We are the voices of those who are afraid to speak up and speak out. We are the voices of those who just don't know any better. We are the voices of those that we may or may not know, But we do know that they're out there. And we do know that they need those of us who are as fortunate as we are. You know, I think about mi abuela, my father's mother in this case, who lived and still lives a few blocks from where I grew up in North Philadelphia. And she just turned 88 years old, and you know, she's getting old, and now all of a sudden, you know, she's really being forthright and forthcoming, you know, about her life and her experiences. And you know, every once in a while, you know, knowing that I'm secretary now, and she sees my face every once in a blue moon and al dia, you know, she tells me what all I need to tell all of you. She says, because she can fix the problems of the world, just give her 5 minutes. And if not, she's going to set me straight for not figuring it all out. You know, but she shares with me her experiences in Puerto Rico, her experiences in New York, you know, raising kids in the Bronx, and then ultimately landing and settling in Philadelphia. But the one that really stuck with me, that remains with me, is her story of how she ended up here in the mainland U.S. So my grandmother was a poor farm girl in Patillas, Puerto Rico. Life was hard back then. She worked on the farm, they barely made ends meet. She always told us the story about having one cow, and how someone took that cow, and her and her mother went with a kitchen knife looking for the cow and found the guy who stole it. And they brought that cow back home. But you know, what resonated with me is she shared the story of how after she ran off, you know, her no good husband at the time, she found herself in a state of despair. She had no place to go. You know, in Puerto Rico, the farmlands back then, there was no system of support. Very little food, very little resources. She tells me she had nothing. And she shares this story with me, and she shared it a few times, and another member of my family validated the story. As she walked over to the edge of her farm, the edge of her land, and it was a cliff that overlooked the body of water. And she said, you know, Pedrito, she goes, you know, I was looking over the body of water, the cliff, with 3 kids, one of which being my father. And I was contemplating throwing my kids over the cliff and then jumping myself. I didn't know what else to do. And she sat there and she prayed, and she sat there and she looked over the cliff, she sat there and, you know, contemplated how she was going to make this happen. And she heard a voice. Now, it was not the voice of God, although she was praying. Although God probably sent the voice to her. It was her neighbor. And she remembers him saying, "Hey, hija, what are you going to do with what are you doing with those kids?" And she broke down and started crying. Her neighbor gave her $87. Enough money to fly from Puerto Rico with only 2 of her 3 kids to New York. 1 pair of shoes, 2 skirts, and 2 blouses. My grandmother spent that time and that opportunity to live with cousins in a 1-bedroom unit in the Bronx, which those of us, you know, who either you grew up in New York or went to New York, you knew it was nothing to fit 3 families in a 1-bedroom in New York back in those days. But she worked hard. She tells me the stories of her cleaning houses and cleaning offices. She shared with me the stories of picking through the garbage and sewing clothes for her family. She tells me about her favorite job that really made her popular in Philadelphia, in North Philly. She was the neighborhood Avon lady. And you know, there is no more important person back then in the Latino community than the Avon lady. Right? Well, I remember her letting me go through her purse to take advantage of all the free samples. And her little libreta, who owed her money and who didn't. And folding pages over the side of the book to tell her what I wanted when she had enough money to buy me something from that book. So, you know, I grew up and I got to, you know, continue to serve in the community that we grew up in. I grew up and got to be an educator in schools in North Philadelphia, and not only did I know firsthand based on my family experience, but what I lived firsthand with each and every one of my kids and my families, what we needed to focus on to ensure that all students, every single student, regardless of socioeconomic status, sexual identity, language, disability, ethnicity, or race, regardless of zip code, what they needed to be successful, to make resources available to them when they need it, the way they need it, and regardless of judgment. Because sometimes we have this conversation around equity and providing resources and opportunity, but it has to be on our schedule and by our means. And we say all, but we really don't want to serve all. So being able to lead at the state, we can absolutely say and push this agenda to say that all means all. We are not the person who's responsible for maintaining the door of who receives and who doesn't. And we know that by connecting with community leaders like you can hold us accountable to ensure that every family, every student, every community has access to the materials and the resources they need. As a teacher, I remember bringing food to school every day. Because in the Kensington area, kids came to school at Kensington and they were hungry. So caring, what do? You feed them. And now as secretary, I know there's a technical term for this. It's called food security. And I know that there are policies and there's movements to make sure that we not only provide students nutritious lunches, but we work hard to provide breakfast and after school snacks and weekend feeding. As an educational leader, participating with programs that stuff backpacks full of food for kids to enjoy over the weekend. To make sure we have summer feedings for those communities that don't have access to food when school's not in session. And I can share with you that as the Secretary of Ed, we get to kind of push and support those policies, but it's community members that make that happen. You make that happen. As an educator teaching students English, I always took a moment to encourage students to embrace their heritage, embrace their language and culture. And back then, not because it was popular, I remember my grandmother making sure that we learned to speak English, to not speak English with an accent, so she forced us to respond to her in English when she spoke to us in Spanish. Little did she know that when you leave New York and Philadelphia, you automatically have an accent. I said, where's that accent from? I said, North Philadelphia. Well, we know firsthand what now is vogue. Knowing another language and being bicultural. My experiences with my family helped me understand firsthand that it was a life skill. Knowing and understanding other cultures and other opportunities, knowing and embracing and loving differences in people. I mentioned as secretary, I have the duty and the honor to advocate and support equity and inclusion throughout the Commonwealth's education system. So in 2017, we produced the Equity and Inclusion Toolkit, which helps schools learn how to create and maintain supportive settings to celebrate diversity and teach students and educators how to work together. And I wish I could tell you that this was this novel idea because we were so forward-thinking and smart that we pulled together this living document to help schools manage equity and inclusion and diversity. But the truth is, in 2017, this was in response to some really ugly behavior. This was in response to us getting calls, and communities sharing that they were hearing messages of hate in their children's schools. This was in response to posts being made through social media telling folks to go back home. Telling people you need to be a citizen, you don't belong. Telling people that this wasn't a place that they were welcome. So we stepped up with our community of supports, with other community members who were leaders, and created a toolkit to help our community at large better serve diverse populations. But you know what I learned? That on top of it just being a resource, we had to provide them the excuse to protect and advocate for kids. Because our leaders were scared. Because some of our educators were scared to be vocal. So someone had to step up and be that voice. And many members in our schools stepped up and acted in the voice of equity, saying all means all, every single student, every single family, and every single community. So we want to embrace those opportunities, and we're currently working on creating a seal of biliteracy in school districts across the Commonwealth. We saw a great pilot in Philadelphia where students who show fluency in another language get a little seal on their transcripts showing that they're highly literate and biliterate in multiple language or multiliterate in multiple language. And I wish I could tell you that that's only, the smart thing to do, but the truth of the matter is it's a socioeconomic issue. Because employers shared with us that they want individuals that are not only bilingual and biliterate, but they want folks who understand different cultures. Because guess what? If you can't get along with others in today's society, you're not going to be successful. There are going to be very little jobs in the next decade where you get to hide in the office. The engineer is now also the salesperson. And the salesperson needs to be able to speak technically about the product that they're pushing. And we are not only just creating, we're developing, we're evolving each and every day. And if you want to be successful in doing that, you have to understand difference. You have to embrace equity. You have to create a community in which every single member is better today than they were yesterday. And they're expected to do a better job tomorrow. So we know in higher education here in PA, we're addressing the lack of diversity in front of our classrooms, in our main offices and in central office. Not just because it's a nice thing to do, but because research indicates that students have a better chance at success when their teachers look like them. And in Pennsylvania, only 5.4% of our educators are people of color, and even fewer are males of color. We know that all students do better and all communities improve when all students are exposed to at least one educator of color, teaching them that equity and inclusion is alive and exists in their community. And we know that this lack of diversity is having a widespread impact on the gaps in student achievement among race and our gender groups. So in our state, we have to do more, and we are doing more. We introduced an innovative clinical residency program, where we're building in a full year of teacher residency for students before they enter the classroom as part of their college experience, under a master teacher, focused on some of our neediest communities. As I continue to serve in communities of Philadelphia as a principal, I learned very quickly the need to focus on the holistic needs of kids to maximize learning opportunities. Because we know that you can't decouple the needs of students and communities from the success of our schools. So I've been fortunate as secretary with our governor and an amazing team in the Department of Education to create a system of accountability that moves away from this heavy focus on standardized tests. We take this one single measure and then we indict schools by identifying them as successful or failing, to looking at a system that's much more equitable in nature, to look at performance, on-track measures, whether or not our students can perform math on grade level, or can perform reading on grade level, to ensure English learners are mastering English acquisition, but also to focus on college, career, and community standards. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, our job is to ensure we create an environment in the Department of Education that schools and school districts across the Commonwealth are preparing the next generation workforce. And we have to do that by understanding we have to be transparent to you. We have to engage in that way to understand that there is no one cookie-cutter approach to serving our students and serving our community. We have to do that by understanding each and every day we have to open our doors and keep our doors open for our partners who also care about our kids and the communities we serve. So as we come together to celebrate the practically 1 million strong status, we at the Department of Education, through the Commonwealth and Governor Wolf's administration, see this as an opportunity. An opportunity to ensure our youngest learners have access to high-quality early learning programs, continue to push and advocate for those opportunities, an opportunity to advocate for equity and inclusion in our schools and all of our public spaces, an opportunity to demand our higher education system create supports to boost post-secondary attainment for first-generation, underrepresented, and traditionally underserved college students, whether that's an industry certificate, a 2-year degree, or a 4-year degree. We have an opportunity to forge partnerships between schools, communities, and businesses and industry where they have not existed for every student and every career path to ensure that college, career, and community readiness. And we have an opportunity to be the unfilled voice to fight and advocate for equitable funding for our educational systems that serve our most vulnerable communities. And remember this, our voices resonate loudest when we are unified and continue to be almost 1 million strong. Thank you for your time.
Before we conclude the luncheon,